When you are talking about off-season in Major League Baseball, you are talking about the winter meetings, which kick off today. I am going to tell you what to expect and so much more today on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I am your host, Booney, one name. Episodes will drop Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. That's Oakland time, Vegas time, and yes, Sacramento time, whether you are on your way to work, driving back from work, or listening casually during the day. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. I'm from the Bay Area, and I've been a diehard A's fan since '81. I'm here to bring you a real fan's take, covering everything from Oakland to Sacramento to Las Vegas. This is the place for A's fans to get the latest game breakdowns, team news, and more. This is where the passion of the fans take center stage. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. And please hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. As we kick off this year's winter meetings, I will be monitoring every single situation very closely. And as news comes out regarding the A's, I will be posting any and all emergency episodes to let you know exactly what happened. So always be checking on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, X, social media. You will see updated news as it happens in an emergency episode posted once it happens. Just like I did with the Severino signing on Thursday, and I'm still pinching myself over that signing. Will the A's make another splash? We will see. In the meantime, we will be dedicating this week to the winter meetings, and to start things off, we are taking a special look back at the Oakland Athletics, a team that made its mark in off-season history with bold trades and tough financial decisions. The A's have always been known for their small market approach, as you know, relying on analytics and player development. But let's be real. When their stars shine too bright, they often head elsewhere. Today, we'll revisit some notable A's trades and free agent losses that turned heads. Let's unpack the A's pivotal moves over the past 20 plus years and see how their decisions shaped up. More importantly, looking back at these decisions, would we make that same decision today? Up next. Today's episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Starting in 2001, we saw a talent exodus as the team's core players from their playoff runs left for bigger paychecks. Before getting into free agents, I do want to revisit the most recent trades the A's have made as they shape who they are today. Not only that, but these trades were criticized at the time. Let's start with March 12, 2022. The A's traded Chris Bassitt, starting pitcher, to the Mets for JT Ginn and Adam Oller. Ginn was a 2020 second rounder out of Mississippi State, and Oller was a 20th rounder in 2016 who was waived by the A's in May of 2023. Basically, it comes down to JT Ginn for Chris Bassitt, who did sign a 3-year, $63 million deal with the Blue Jays, and next year will be the last year on that contract. Bassitt's a solid Major League Baseball starter. His last year with the A's, he was 12-4 with a 3.15 ERA. He's been decent for the Blue Jays, going 26-22 over the last 2 years with an ERA in the high threes. He's 35 years old, though. And JT Ginn, on the flip side of that, is 10 years younger at 25 years old. Ginn made his Major League debut last year for the A's. He made 6 starts, going 1-1 with a 4.24 ERA in 8 appearances. Given that Chris Bassitt's pitching days are basically over and Ginn is just ahead of him, I will give this one a win for the A's, as Ginn will compete for a spot in the starting rotation in 2025. On March 14th, 2022, one of the more memorable A's trades, as they traded Matt Olson to the Braves for Christian Pache, Shea Langoliers, Joey Estes, and Ryan Cusick. Let's be honest, Olson is a beast, and he was a beast for the A's. He's someone you could build a franchise around. He hit 39 home runs for the A's in 2021. And with the Braves, he hit 24, 54, and 29 home runs from 2022 to 2024. This ended up being a sign and trade, as the Braves signed Olson to an 8-year, $168 million deal the day after they made this trade. The A's got some legitimate prospects in return. Shea Langoliers was the 9th overall pick out of Baylor in 2019. Joey Estes, who could be part of the A's starting rotation this year. And Ryan Cusick, who was the number 24 overall pick out of Wake Forest in 2021. At this time, Cusick is on the 40-man roster. We will see how that turns out. Just with Langoliers and Estes, and considering what Olson signed for, which is way out of the pay range for the A's, getting what the A's got and 2 first-rounders made this trade a huge win. On March 16th, 2022, the A's traded Matt Chapman to the Toronto Blue Jays for Gunnar Hoglund, Kevin Smith, Zach Logue, and Kirby Snead. Now, Chapman was, as you know, as legit as they get. He won a platinum glove for the A's, and he hit as well. He had 24 bombs in 2018, 36 in 2019, and 27 in 2021. The main player the A's got in return was Hoglund, who was the 19th overall pick in 2019 out of the University of Mississippi. Hoglund's only 25 years old and is expected to be with the big club this year, competing for a spot in the rotation after having a huge breakout year in 2024 in the minors. With regard to the other individuals involved in that trade, Kevin Smith was waived in 2023 by the A's. He was a 2017 4th-round pick. Zach Logue was a 9th-round pick in 2017 and was waived 8 months after the trade. Kirby Snead was a 10th-round pick in 2016 who was waived in October of last year. This really comes down to Hoglund for Chapman. Considering Chapman recently signed a 6-year, $150 million deal with the Giants, they were eventually going to lose him. But could the A's have gotten more for a legitimate third baseman, power hitter, who is the best third baseman, the best defensive player in all of baseball, than a 1st-rounder, 4th-rounder, 9th-rounder, and 10th-rounder? I think so. I'm going to score this one a loss, but maybe that can flip into a win depending on how Hoglund performs. Chapman was no prospect with the A's. He was a legitimate power hitter. And I believe Chapman's highlight of his career and where he was the best was with the A's, not with the Giants, not with the Blue Jays. He deserved more than just a first-round pick and the handful of draft picks they got in the later rounds as well. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off site-wide during their cyber sale at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code MLB. With 5 generations of experience, Omaha Steaks consistently delivers the world's best steak experience. And their gifting experts have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide during the cyber sale at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code MLB and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 with promo code MLB. Minimum purchase may apply. August 1st, 2022, the A's traded Frankie Montas and Trevino to the Yankees for J.P. Sears, Ken Waldichuk, Luis Medina, and Cooper Bowman. Your big names on this trade are Frankie Montas and J.P. Sears. Montas was 5-12 for the Yankees with a 4.05 ERA in 2022. He was hurt in 2023, and in 2024 for the Brewers went 7-11 with a 4.84 ERA. Excuse me, I believe that was with the Brewers and Reds. He just signed a 2-year, $34 million deal with the Mets. And you are telling me we overpaid for Severino? Pitcher for pitcher. Forget about salaries. J.P. Sears is hands down a better pitcher than Frankie Montas. Right now, no question. On top of that, we're paying Sears $800,000, while the Mets are paying $17 million a year for Montas. On top of that, we get prospects in Cooper Bowman, a 2021 4th-round pick out of Louisville, Ken Waldichuk, a 2019 5th-round pick out of St. Mary's, who has fought some injuries but expected to be back midseason, and Luis Medina, who is just electric and had some starts with the A's this past season. Unfortunately, he got hurt and received Tommy John surgery a couple months back. He is expected to miss most of, if not all, of the 2025 season. But don't forget the name Luis Medina. He is something. He is good. When he bounces back from this injury, expect him to be an A's starting pitcher. Looking back at this one, the A's were hands down the winner. There is no question about it. On December 12, 2022, the A's traded Sean Murphy to the Braves, which was part of a 3-way deal with the Milwaukee Brewers. The A's traded Joel Payamps to the Brewers. The Braves traded Pena, Kyle Muller, Freddie Tarnok, and Royber Salinas to the A's. The Brewers traded Estuary Rees to the A's. What spurred this trade on was the A's receiving Langoliers in the Olson deal from the Braves. Langoliers was looked at as the catcher of the future, even though Murphy was pretty damn good. The logic made sense, though. We have Langoliers. Murphy will sign a big deal with the Braves. We can't afford. Let's get something in return. Okay, I get it. That's the problem, though. They didn't get much in return. Manuel Pena was an aging catcher who the A's waived just 6 months later. Kyle Muller was a 2016 second-round pick out of the University of Texas, who the A's just waived in November. Freddie Tarnack was a 2017 third-round pick who got waived in March, and Roy Salinas got waived last month. We still got Esty, and I still believe in Esty, and I think he will be a difference maker for the A's. But yeah, Murphy just wasn't a prospect. He was a Gold Glove catcher who had pop. And yes, he did sign that big deal with the Braves, 6 years, $73 million. He has been hurt, but considering Murphy was coming off a Gold Glove with the A's and hit right around 20 home runs, I think he was worth more than just a second round and third round pick. I'm going to put this one as a loss. The A's signing of Luis Severino has drawn some criticism from critics who have said the A's have way overspent for Severino, which may be true, but it put the A's franchise in a situation where it was like, damn if you do and damn if you don't. I mean, if they don't spend, it's the same old A's and they have no interest in improving their team. But the only way to lure any free agents to Sacramento to play in a minor league ballpark is to overpay, which they did with Severino, by what is estimated by experts to believe someone is worth. When in fact, the gauge of whether a free agent was a good signing or not is something that history will dictate. Let's take a look at free agents the A's have decided not to re-sign over history and see how that ended up turning out. Up next. Today's episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. When I personally look at a sports book, there are two things that are most important to me. Is it easy to deposit? And more importantly, is it easy to withdraw? FanDuel checks both boxes for me. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Free agency is such a tricky thing. There are so many factors to equate on whether a player is looked at as a good investment or not. With MLB's free agency rule established where you must have 6 years of MLB service before a player can become an unrestricted free agent, makes it difficult whether to pull the trigger on a long-term investment on a player or growing your organization through the amateur draft and your farm system, as the A's have chosen to do in their history. Let's look back at the 5 largest contracts the A's have lost in free agency and decide now whether it was smart to let them go or should have kept them. The purpose of the exercise is to imagine if the A's were a large market organization and had a bottomless pit of money where they could throw at any particular free agent. and want to explore how that signing would have turned out, whether it would have turned out in their favor or against their favor. How did they do with the contract they did sign with the respective team they did go to? Let's start with number 5, arguably the greatest shortstop to ever play for the A's, Miguel Tejada. He played with the A's from 1997 to 2003, where he earned an MVP in 2002. Tejada was dominant at the plate and a cornerstone of those early 2000 A's teams. At the end of the 2003 season, he signed a 6-year, $72 million deal with the Baltimore Orioles, where he played for 4 years before being traded to the Houston Astros in 2008, where he wrapped up his 6-year deal. Now, in those 6 years, he was an all-star every single year with the exception of 2007 and received MVP votes in 4 of those 6 years. The big reason the A's let Tejada go was because of prospect Bobby Crosby, who did win the Rookie of the Year in 2004. Crosby was a good Major League Baseball shortstop, but nowhere close to the caliber of Tejada. It's easy to say now, right? Yeah, we should have re-signed Tejada, but then again, this is how the A's have operated their franchise for the last quarter century. With that being said, let's take a look at Tejada's deal. It was $72 million over 6 years. That's $12 million a year for the best hitting shortstop in all of baseball, which in hindsight isn't a whole lot to pay for an MVP type of player. $12 million a year for Tejada, and he wanted to stay in Oakland. Tejada's one we should have kept. That's for sure. Number 4, Starling Marte. At the end of the 2021 season, the New York Mets signed what I believe was an outrageous contract to Starling Marte. 4 years, $78 million. The A's traded for Marte in 2021 as they dealt Jesus Luzardo to the Marlins for Marte. Marte only played 56 games with the A's. He hit 5 homers, batted .316. He had similar numbers for the Marlins in 2021. He was 33 years old going into 2022. And while Marte was always a good bat-to-ball guy since his career started in the majors in 2012 with the Pirates, as a majority of his career was played in Pittsburgh, he was an all-star in 2015. He had a great glove. He had gold gloves in 2015 and 2016. But almost $20 million a year for 4 years for an above-average bat-to-ball guy who didn't have too much power. He hit .292 for the Mets in 2022, .248 in 2023, and .269 this last season. I like Marte. He's a good MLB ball player, but we're talking about $20 million a year. This is one you let go of. He was 33 when he signed this contract. Obviously, on the back end of his career, these are one of those deals you kind of just shake your head on and say, hey, the Mets have money just to blow. Number 3 on my list, and in my opinion, one of the most underrated left-hand pitchers of all time, Jon Lester. Jon Lester only pitched 11 games for the A's in 2014. The A's traded Johnny Gomes and Yoenis Cespedes to the Red Sox for what would be a short-term rental for the A's push to the postseason in 2014. When you talk about aces, front end rotation guys that will give you quality start after quality start, someone who is just a bulldog on the mound and gives you everything he has, it's Jon Lester. In those 11 games with the A's, he went 6-4, 2.35 ERA. He started that crazy wild card loss to the Royals in 2014. Lester was good. But at the end of 2014, the Cubs gave Lester 6 years, $155 million. Lester was 31 at the time. He was good the first 4 years with the Cubs, but he got older or struggled in his final 2 years of his contract. For as much as I like Lester, I really do, and with his time being so short with the A's, I wanted the A's to find a way to keep him, even though at the time I knew the chances were practically zero. But when I heard the contract with the Cubs, I was a little surprised. I think this is another one you just let go of for that type of money. Number 2, Barry Zito signed a 7-year, $126 million contract in 2006, arguably the worst contract the Giants have ever given out. I think the baseball gods were paying the Giants back a little bit there for the San Jose rights situation the A's always had to deal with. Zito was bad in San Francisco. 3 of his 7 years, his ERA was over 5. His record was below 500 in 6 of the 7 years. With all that being said, a lot of Giants fans feel that the start Zito made in Game 5 of the 2012 NLCS with the Giants down 3-1 to the St. Louis Cardinals, Zito pitched 7 1/3 of shutout baseball in a performance that was completely out of nowhere. It was his only outing of the NLCS as the Giants won Game 5, 5-0, came back to win the series in 7, and went on to win the World Series. As I was saying, a lot of Giants feel that that start alone was worth the 7 years, $126 million. Finally, number 1, Jason Giambi. 7 years, $120 million with the Yankees. Giambi was a monster for the A's. His power numbers in New York were always there, but his batting average wasn't the same. It was more in the 250s versus in Oakland, he was well above 300. But how can you say no to Giambi? But again, do you as a franchise want to commit 7 years to a guy turning 31? As we go into the MLB winter meetings today, crazy contracts are being talked about. The numbers that are going on with Juan Soto was crazy. 15 years, $700 million. Soto's great. It's the best hitter in baseball. But he's an average to below average right fielder. And 15 years? How many quality years are you going to get out of that? A player like Juan Soto, a player like Shohei Ohtani, they do so much more for a franchise than just what is on the field. And the value they bring to a community and to an organization off the field is worth so much money. So in those terms, sure, if you have the money, why not spend it? I look back at the Severino deal and I like it more and more. I like how the A's have gone about their off seasons for the most part, not in the last few years. When you are talking about an organization as young as the A's and who have worked with the amateur draft and their farm system, you always have to have those veteran free agents you sign that are going to bring more to a young team than just what they can bring on the field. And I think Severino is that type of guy. I'm interested to find out what else happens in these winter meetings, what the A's are going to do. I'm going to be on top of it all week. Be sure you're checking back to social media. Be sure you are keeping an eye out on this channel because any new developments, I will be quick to report. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.